Cosette. We have friends joining us in our magic lamp again today. Welcome to Cosette's Enchanted Journeys. I am Jenny the genie, here with my sweet friend Cosette the cat, and we're both just so happy you could be with us today. It's always a good day when we have friends come and visit us in our lamp. And good days are our favorite because bad days, well, they're just no fun, are they? Do you ever have a bad day sometimes and you just feel grumpy, lonely, and just downright sad? Yeah, me too. You know, speaking of bad days, that reminds me of another story that I would love to share with you. Another favorite of mine. It's called Alexander and the Horrible, Terrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. And it's about a little boy who just doesn't have anything go his way. Everything he says comes out wrong, or he feels ignored, and everything he wants he can't have. And it's just not a fun day for poor Alexander. But it's got a great message, it's a really good story, and I think you'll enjoy it, even if Alexander's not having the best of days. Do you want to go and read it with me now? Great, okay. All we gotta do to pop out of this magic lamp, rub our hands together and say, I wish to go on an enchanted journey. Ready? I wish to go on an enchanted journey. Well, here we are, ready to enjoy another story. And today I have Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day by Judith Vorst to share with you. I hope you enjoy this story. Okay. I went to sleep with gum in my mouth, and now there's gum in my hair. And when I got out of bed this morning, I tripped on the skateboard, and by mistake, I dropped my sweater in the sink while the water was running, and I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. Alexander looks pretty grumpy. At breakfast, Anthony found a Corvette Stingray car kit in his breakfast cereal box, and Nick found a junior undercover agent code ring in his breakfast cereal box. But in my breakfast cereal box, all I found was breakfast cereal. I think I'll move to Australia. Alexander's feeling pretty bad for himself, thinking maybe if he goes somewhere else, things would get better. In the carpool, Mrs. Gibson let Becky have a seat by the window. Audrey and Elliot got seats by the window too. I said I was being scrunched. I said I was being smushed. I said, if I don't get a seat by the window, I'm going to be car sick. No one even answered. I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. At school, Mrs. Dickens liked Paul's picture of the sailboat better than my picture of the invisible castle. At singing time, she said I sang too loud. At counting time, she said I left out 16. Who needs 16? I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. Poor Alexander. Sometimes I forget a number when I'm counting, too. I could tell because Paul said I wasn't his best friend anymore. He said that Philip Parker was his best friend and that Albert Moya was his next best friend and that I was only his third best friend. I hope you sit on a tack, I said to Paul. I hope the next time you get a double-decker strawberry ice cream cone, the ice cream part falls off the cone part and lands in Australia. Poor Alexander's having a pretty tough day, and now he's arguing with his best friends. There were 2 cupcakes in Philip Parker's lunch bag, and Albert got a Hershey bar with almonds, and Paul's mother gave him a piece of jelly roll that had little coconut sprinkles on the top. Guess whose mother forgot to put in dessert? It was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. Poor Alexander. Wanted a little sweet treat to cheer him up. There was no sweet treat in his lunch. That's what it was, because after school, my mom took us all to the dentist, and Dr. Fields found a cavity just in me. Come back next week, and I'll fix it, said Dr. Fields. Next week, I said, I'm going to Australia. Have you ever had a cavity before? I guess getting those filled can make for a bad day. On the way downstairs, the elevator door closed on my foot, and while we were waiting for my mom to get to the car, Anthony made me fall where it was muddy, and then when I started crying because of the mud, Nick said I was a crybaby. and, oh, it's not over yet. Nick said I was a crybaby, and while I was punching Nick for saying crybaby, my mom came back with the car and scolded me for being muddy and fighting. I am having a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day, I told everybody. No one even answered. You ever have days where you feel like nobody's understanding you or listening, and they're not very good? Me too. So then we went to the shoe store to buy some sneakers. Anthony chose white ones with blue stripes. Nick chose red ones with white stripes. I chose blue ones with red stripes, but then the shoe man said we're all sold out. They made me buy plain old white ones, but they can't make me wear them. When we picked up my dad at his office, he said I couldn't play with his copying machine, but I forgot. He also said to watch out for the books on his desk, and I was careful as could be, except for my elbow. He also said don't fool around with his phone, but I think I called Australia. My dad said please don't pick him up anymore. It was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. Oh, things are getting a little chaotic for Alexander. There were lima beans for dinner, and I hate limas. There was kissing on TV, and I hate kissing. Blah. My bath was too hot, I got soap in my eyes, my marble went down the drain, and I had to wear my railroad train pajamas. I hate my railroad train pajamas. When I went to bed, Nick took the pillow he said I could keep, and the Mickey Mouse nightlight burned out, and I bit my tongue. The cat wants to sleep with Anthony, not me. It has been a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. My mom says some days are like that. Even in Australia. Wow, poor Alexander, he had a tough day. Wow. Poor Alexander had a day that just didn't go his way, did it? It's good that his mom was able to help Alexander understand that some days are just like that, and no matter where you go, you take your feelings and your mood with you, even to Australia. When I have a bad day and things just aren't going well, I try to find something fun I can do, and maybe I can turn my day around. One thing I really enjoy doing when I feel low is to bake a special yummy treat. I have a recipe picked out for today for an Oreo dirtworm cake. Doesn't that sound good? I bet Alexander would have enjoyed that in his lunch. Would you like to come with me to the kitchen and make this special dessert? Why don't you ask a parent if it's okay for you to do? I'll put the recipe up for you and you can follow along with me and we can make a delicious cake together. And welcome to my kitchen. As you can see, I've already laid out a lot of the ingredients that we're going to need to make our terribly, horribly, no good, very, but tasty cake. So that's the first most important thing I've laid out here is a recipe. I found this one called Oreo Dirt Cake on a website called Together as Family. You can use any Oreo Dirt Cake recipe that you like and love. It doesn't matter as long as it tastes good, right? This one got 5 stars, so I think it's going to come out pretty good. You'll also need a 9x13 glass dish with some cooking spray. I've already sprayed my dish with the cooking spray. That's so that our cake mix won't stick inside the pan. You don't need a whole lot, just a little bit so it doesn't stick. So you're gonna need a cake mix that you like. I have Devil's Food. You'll need some Jell-O, which we're gonna mix with some half and half later. I'm gonna set those to the side because we don't need those right away. You'll need some hot fudge, which we're gonna add once the cake has been made. We'll put that over here for now. We can't make Oreo dirt cake without Oreos, of course, so I have a package of Oreos. The thing that makes Oreo dirt cake especially yummy and a little gross, in my opinion, is adding some gummy worms to it. So that's gonna be a terribly fun thing we can do. So we'll put those there. You'll need an 8-ounce container of Cool Whip. And this we're gonna let set out so it can de-thaw a little bit so it'll make it easier. We're gonna use that as the top of our cake with the Oreos. a wooden spoon or something with a 1/2 inch round that you can poke holes into your cake once it's cooled a bit. And we're gonna be adding the hot fudge sauce into those holes. It's gonna be really, really good. And of course, I'm using a whisk just to stir my cake mix. And I have 2 bowls, one to add the 1/2 and 1/2 and make that topping I was telling you about. And one is to make the cake. Okay, so we're gonna just go ahead and follow the directions on the back of the box and make this cake. Now, I just was a little worried. I was in my fridge and thought I had a bunch of eggs, and it happens I only have 3 left. Thankfully, this recipe asks for exactly 3. Otherwise, I might have had a terrible, horrible, good time trying to make this cake. So I've put the cake batter in the bowl, and now I'm gonna add my cup of water. I'm gonna give it a little stir just to get it going. It's a little chunky because I have to add my eggs and my oil, so I'm gonna do that now. Carefully crack eggs. Don't want to get any shells into our cake, or it really might be terrible and horrible and awful. Whoops, oh no! I lost the egg on the counter. Oh, well, I'm gonna scoop it up and throw it in there and it's gonna be just fine. Sometimes things happen even when we don't want them to or plan on it, but it's gonna turn out just fine anyway. Stir it around. Ooh, that's looking chocolatey and gooey. Once you've got your cake mix all stirred up pretty good, you don't see any powder left behind, everything is homogeneous, spread around, looks good, you're gonna add it into your glass baking dish. I take a minute and I use my spatula to kind of stir around the cake even more once I get it in the baking dish, just to make sure it's really smooth and creamy, make sure I didn't miss any spots. And hopefully by this time your oven is warmed up to 350 degrees. And you're gonna follow your cake recipe, but most cakes will bake in a 1/2 hour to 35 minutes. So we're gonna do that now. While you're letting your cake bake, you can start to work on crushing up 12 Oreos, or however many Oreos your recipe calls for. Mine calls for 12 crushed Oreos. So you have your 12 Oreos broken up pretty good. These are still pretty big chunks. You want to break them up even more. So I'm just going to use the end of my rolling pin, just smash them up a little bit. If you were having a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day, hopefully Oreos and smashing Oreos might make your day a little better. If a rolling pin's not doing a trick for you, you can use the bottom of your hot fudge jar and smash those cookies right down. Okay, when your cake is done, take it out of the oven. And should maybe look something like this. To make sure it's properly cooked by inserting a toothpick right into the center and pulling it out. And if it looks pretty clean, like this one does, then your cake is done. We're now going to use our spatula and we're gonna poke holes in it to add hot fudge. Now you're gonna take the end of your spatula and poke holes in your cake just by inserting it just like so. You put as many as you like, something like that. Then you're going to take your hot fudge that you've heated up and you're going to pour it into the holes, or you can use a spoon. I'm just using a butter knife to kind of make sure it fills into the holes. There, that looks pretty good. Okay, now we got to let this cool before we add anything more to it. So I'm just gonna slide this over. Okay, while your cake is off to the side cooling after adding hot fudge, you can do the next step. For that, we're gonna need 2 cups of 1/2 and 1/2, our box of pudding, and we'll need our 8 ounces of Cool Whip, which is nice and thawed out. So first I'm going to get 2 cups of 1/2 and 1/2, 2 cups. So we're gonna pour that whole container. If you get a pint of 1/2 and 1/2, you'll be in good shape, right into this bowl. Next, I'm going to add my pudding mix. Okay, we've got our 1/2 and 1/2 and pudding mix in the bowl. Now we're just going to stir with our wire whisk. Once you've got your pudding and 1/2 and 1/2 well combined, you'll see it's kind of thicker and it's all one color, looks pretty even. We're gonna let that sit for about 5 minutes to thicken up. Okay, after about 5 minutes, your mixture of the pudding and the 1/2 and 1/2 should be pretty well set and thick. See how that's barely moving while I jiggle it?
That means we're ready to add our Cool Whips. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Once you have that pretty well mixed, you're gonna spread it on top of your cooled off cake. I'm just gonna hold my bowl over, I'm gonna pour it. The nice thing about using Cool Whip instead of like a frosting is it's so really smooth and creamy. It's very easy to spread across the cake. Once you have your frosting, Cool Whip chocolate, next you're gonna take your crushed Oreos and you're gonna spread those across the top. Oreo dirt cake is supposed to look like dirt. It's supposed to look crumbly. Doesn't need to look perfect. For the next step, we're gonna add some gummy worms. I've got these gummy worms here. You can fill in some holes the dirt left behind with the worms. You can put the worms anywhere you want, however you want. They also make gummy bears, of course, and gummy frogs, and all kinds of different gummy things. So if you don't want worms, you could have bears in the dirt if you want. And there you have it, Oreo dirt cake with gummy worms. A wonderful way to take a terrible, horrible, awful, no good, very bad day and have a little bit of fun turning it around and making it delicious.
And I'm back, Cosette. I just had such a great time with our friends reading all about Alexander, even though he didn't have the best of days. But we turned it around and we made a really delicious Oreo dirtworm cake, and I can't wait to go and have a piece. I hope you were able to make it with us, and if not today, maybe you can make it another time, or another sweet treat of your choice, whatever you like. I hope that when you have a bad day, you find ways to turn it around, and Cosette and I both hope you'll come and join us in our lamp again soon. See you later.